mamas, we all know how uncomfortable and nerve-wracking labor and birth in general can be. If you're a first-time mama, it's usually the pain that seems the scariest, or maybe you've given birth before and you're wanting this birth to be different and more manageable. So if you're wanting an unmedicated birth or to stay at home as long as possible, or maybe you're even planning on getting the epidural, it's still super important that we learn how to manage and cope with the pain and discomfort that labor can bring. I say this even if you're planning on getting an epidural because there's always a chance that either the anesthesiologist takes a while to get to you while you're in the hospital, or there's always a chance that the epidural doesn't work. So we just want to make sure that we are prepared. My name is Caitlyn and I'm a certified birth educator and a birth doula, and in this video I'm going to share with you my top 5 tips to coping with the pain of labor without an epidural. Before we dive in to my tips for managing pain, it is essential that we understand the process of pain and how the brain perceives it. So where does pain come from? Pain is constructed entirely in the brain, so it's in your head. In terms of birth, that's meaning that there technically isn't any pain coming directly from the cervix or from the uterus or from the vagina. Instead, the nerves are actually sending signals to your brain to create the feeling of pain. So the brain is then creating what the body feels. Because of this, we can actually change the way we are perceiving pain, which is the ultimate key to managing pain. So you might be wondering, what does labor feel like? How much is it gonna hurt? Where does it hurt when you're giving birth? So I just wanna go ahead and give you a little bit of information so that way you can be less scared and you know a little bit more of what labor can feel like. So in early labor, usually will start as cramps, usually light cramps. Obviously everyone is a little bit different though in how, one, they perceive pain and two, how fast your labor is gonna be. For most people, it just starts as little bit of kind of like cramps. Sometimes it can be more in your back and it can wrap around to your lower stomach, or just feel more like stomach cramps in general, but I would say it's closer to menstrual cramps than like you're not feeling good stomach cramps. As labor continues, these just get to be a lot stronger cramps. So as you get further in labor, you will still have your contractions, again feeling like cramps, but baby descends, baby gets lower in the birth canal, and you'll feel more pressure. So some women even describe this as like a bowling ball that you start to feel kind of in your butt or your vagina, and as you're getting ready to push, a lot of times you'll hear that it sounds like you have to poop, and that's just because of all the pressure that is causing as baby's coming further down into the birth canal. And then actually when you're pushing, so this can be a little bit more, and as baby's coming out, it will feel more like a burning sensation and stretching. So again, those would be like my best ways to describe probably pain that you've already felt before, and that way you know a little bit more of what can come during labor. So now that you know a little bit more about pain, where it comes from, how the brain perceives pain, and what to expect in terms of labor, I'm gonna go ahead and share with you my top 5 tips for managing pain. So my first tip to managing pain would be to set the environment and to boost oxytocin. So what I mean by that is that pain and emotions actually tend to overlap in the brain. So in the brain creates a shared network with processing information in a short amount of time. So negative emotions can make pain worse or actually just cause pain in the first place, and positive emotions can change the way that pain is perceived in the brain. So we really want to focus on those positive emotions for mama, which is what boosting your oxytocin is going to do. So oxytocin is the love and bonding hormone, but it's also the hormone that is produced during labor. And again, it will change the way that brain perceives pain, and it will actually also help labor progress. So the more that your cervix is dilating, the more oxytocin is being sent to the brain, and the more that those pain receptors can start to be kind of turned off or again, just perceived differently. So before we talk about ways that we can set the environment for mama, we want to understand again a little bit more about how these positive emotions can start to change the way that we perceive pain. So we need to know that pain doesn't necessarily equal harm, or that something is going wrong, or that something is bad is happening when we're speaking in terms of labor and birth. So if we can embrace pain and learn not to get too worked up when we're uncomfortable, and again, we know that nothing bad is happening, we're gonna have an easier way of, again, kind of embracing the pain. We're not focusing on just eliminating it because we know that it's there, but we just want to focus on managing and making pain more comfortable instead of trying to freak out and run from it. Again, in terms of oxytocin, we want to keep the oxytocin high and we want to keep the adrenaline low. So in order to do this, we need to keep a calm, loving, and safe environment for mama. We need to make sure that, again, mom feels supported and loved by her birth partner or by birth team in general. We just really don't want mama to be scared and get those fight or flight instincts going. Again, we want to stay calm, cool, and collected. That way mom can really tune into her labor brain and not go into that panic mode. So to help mom feel supported or loved, we can offer snuggles, touch by partner, massage, counter pressure, just anything that really gets that oxytocin boosted for mom. Mama can also just go into the bathroom and turn off the lights and just kind of focus and turn inward if there's too much going on in the outside environment. And speaking of turning off the lights, we can actually just maybe keep the room nice and dim and make sure that there isn't too many distractions or too much going on. So if you're in a hospital setting or even a home setting, actually, I would advise to not speak while mom is in contractions, because one, it's just going to distract her, and two, there's no way she's going to be able to have a conversation with you in the middle of a contraction. So if we can just kind of keep that tone and keep things quiet and nice for mama, that will definitely be helpful. We also want mom to know that you are in control. You are the center and authority of your birth. You get to make decisions based on what feels best for you, what you are wanting to do, and make sure that you know that your providers can listen to you based off of what feels best and what you want to do. So again, if that oxytocin is boosted high, it's gonna keep releasing in waves during labor. That again is gonna basically just help labor progress, and then it's gonna go ahead and send right back to the brain again to give you that pain relief and perceive pain differently. So do everything we can to set the environment, make sure mom feels comfortable, safe, loved, supported, and that will definitely be something that just helps labor in general to make sure that mama isn't getting into that freak out mode. My second tip is to breathe and relax in labor, and I'm going to give you some techniques in order to do that. So when we breathe and we relax in labor, what we're doing is we're reducing tension in the body, and this is going to be a really big, important step in labor. So if mama is really tight, shoulders are up and not breathing, maybe even getting panicky or hyperventilating, all that's going to do is, again, kind of lower that oxytocin, not help mom feel safe and calm. And again, if we're thinking about pain being a thing in the brain, the mental state that mama is in is going to be one of the most important things to be focusing on during labor. So if mom is in freak out mode or is not managing labor well, those pain receptors, that's all mom's going to be thinking about. So we want to have tools and techniques that mom can really pull up in labor and be able to focus on and rely on. So the first thing that I want to go over is just a body scan meditation. And actually the body scan and this breathing technique are things that I think should be done before mom's in labor and practice throughout the pregnancy. That way mom can connect to baby better and herself better, and not expect to all of a sudden know how to calm down and do a breathing technique or body scan in the middle of labor, especially as her emotions and feelings are heightened. It's going to be a lot harder to be able to just connect to herself if she hasn't done that and hasn't practiced before. So your body scan meditation, there's apps that do meditations, or YouTube can do it as well, but basically what we're going to do is just kind of close your eyes And you're gonna scan from the top of your head basically all the way down to your toes and figure out where's the tension in your body and how can we release that. So if we just close our eyes and we're breathing here, maybe we need to focus on relaxing your forehead first, relaxing your eyes, your jaw, your shoulders. Where's the tension and where can we release that? So just feel in your body, kind of get in tune with it, and just see if we can really kind of focus on that, and again, being more at peace and just relieving tension. So during contractions, like I stated earlier, it's gonna be hard not to really tense up, so maybe even balling the fist. So how can we notice that? By scanning, just taking that breath and noticing where we can release. So maybe it's just unclenching your hands, again relaxing the jaw, relaxing your butt, your shoulders. These are going to be really good things to focus on. And as a birth partner, I posted another video already about birth partner support, so I will link that here and you can go ahead and watch it. But basically I just say to be specific. So mama, you can do this, or birth partner can do this as well. If you've noticed that mom's having a hard time and she's getting in her head, is be specific about where to relax. Don't just say, just relax. And this is gonna be really key on just, again, staying calm and in the body and connected. So my next technique here is called the de-stressor breath or the core breath. I have heard it being called both, and it can be referred to as the core breath because we want to focus on breathing more through the belly, not so much the chest. So typically when people will take a deep breath, it will kind of be like here, and we saw my chest moved. Maybe your shoulders are going to kind of come up a little bit towards your ears, so we don't want to do that. Instead, we want to relax through, and we want to breathe through the belly, which will help us actually breathe the right way and will help us be able to relax and connect to the body. So this breathing technique can be used to, again, release tension. That's our biggest focus here, as well as just connect to your body, connect to your baby, and just to let go of fear and tension that you could have. So think of this breath as we're letting things go, we're connecting, and we're becoming calm. You can use this breath in really any time throughout labor. You can try to use it during a contraction or a surge, as some people will call it. Sounds a little bit better than a contraction. You can also use it in between your surges. You can use it really anytime you feel like you, again, just kind of need to reconnect, relax, and release. So as we do this, again, we want to focus on breathing through the belly. So what we can actually do is place a hand right on your belly, right on where baby is, and your other hand can go right underneath your breast. So we just want to focus, and we can practice here on just breathing in through the belly and releasing there too. So again, we're not diaphragm breathing here, we're really focusing on that core or that belly breath. So as we do this, we can inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6 counts. And I actually want to do this and practice with you guys. So I'm going to count here, so let's go ahead, and if your birth partner's with you, you're just going to put your hand basically right on your belly button and then right below the pecs. And so all we're going to do is that breathe in, again focusing on actually feeling the belly expand and come down as we exhale. So I'll go ahead and count, but let's go ahead and get ready. So let's close our eyes, let's relax the shoulders here and just focus on letting go of tension. So let's go ahead and inhale 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in, out. And there was your practice of your de-stressor or your core breath. So again, you can do this as many times as you want as you're leading up to labor and in labor, but we just really want to focus on that calm and relaxing and releasing the tension in the body. And it might sound kind of crazy to think that we can really focus on our breath and actually relax during labor and contractions, but you definitely can. And it's going to take practice and work. Again, it's not going to be something that we can just tune straight into, especially if you're feeling a really intense surge. But it's definitely possible as long as we are knowing that we are in control. Again, we're not necessarily just trying to eliminate pain or pretend that it doesn't exist, but we just want to make sure that we know that mama, you are safe and you are in control of your breathing and of your labor in general. And if doing this breath seems hard, which it definitely can be, if that count is different or it's challenging, you don't necessarily have to do this exact breath. Your specific breathing that you're doing isn't as important as long as mama isn't in a panic or hyperventilating. So just make sure that you are aware of your breath, and that in itself is a really big tip to just making sure that you can control your state of mind and your body. As long as you're aware, it doesn't really even matter the type of breath you're doing. Again, just as long as we're not panicking or hyperventilating, your slow and controlled breaths will be more beneficial. But again, just become aware of your breathing, and that's going to be a really big pain management technique. So my third tip is going to be comfort measures, and those comfort measures being specifically related to the gate theory of pain. So the gate theory of pain is basically kind of tricking your brain by creating too many sensations in the body for your brain to focus on. And the hope with this is that if you have a lot of different sensations, and I'll give examples going on, your brain's not going to be focusing only on the pain of contractions, but maybe focusing on these other sensations that you are feeling first or just while you're having these surges. So that way, again, it's not your only focus is just on how much pain that you're in. Some examples of this can be hot or cold sensations. So different ways to do this. You can have a warm or hot washcloth that can be on the head or typically on the low back, I'd say is a good spot to have some warmth. You can even use like a hot water bottle or a heating pad. You can also use cool sensations. So this could be like ice cold rags on the forehead, the neck, the low back, the shoulders. You can even play around with it and have like a heating pad on the low back and an ice cold washcloth on the forehead or on the neck. And to do this, you can even just wet some washcloths and put them in the fridge. That way they are ready to go, and you can use for managing again pain. And this can even just be another comfort measure for mom if she's feeling hot or overwhelmed, that sometimes just a cool sensation can really kind of help mom tune back in. You can also use a labor comb. A labor comb is something that can be super beneficial. I know lots of mamas that have used one and they have loved it. So basically the comb is gonna go, the pointed parts of the comb is gonna go on the inside of your palm, and you're literally just going to squeeze it during contractions. So again, we're focusing on new sensations that the brain is feeling, and in this case it's a little bit more painful, but again, not so much like your surge pain. So that way the brain is just a little bit distracted, and we're kind of tricking it with this. And again, feel free to layer these comfort measures on top of each other. So you can use one or you can use multiple at the same time. And not necessarily that more is better. It's really just going to depend on you and what makes you feel most comfortable. And sometimes throughout labor, this can actually change. So in the beginning of labor, you might find one thing that's really helpful, and then as it goes on, it might not be as helpful and you want to switch it up. So another way to do this, as far as, again, just more comfort measures, more things to trick brain, would be a TENS unit. So a TENS unit has little pads that you can set up. I'd say typically on your low back is where I'd put this. And it kind of gives just like little mini electric shocks. Again, not super painful or anything, but just creating a new sensation. And I know some moms who actually really enjoyed the TENS unit, and it was something that helped make their contractions more manageable and kind of relieved pain. We can also use a shower or bath. So if we're speaking in terms of different sensations, the shower head is going to be really good. So you can actually just, if you have a detachable shower head, kind of run it again on mom's back or even the belly. Sometimes that can feel, and not super hot water or anything, but just warm water. And you can change the type of water, like how the water is coming out, and that can make a difference putting it again on mom's back. And you can either keep it in one spot, kind of back and forth, or up and down on the back, really whatever mom is wanting. And the shower, specifically all the water droplets, are actually just have been proven as a pain relief technique. You can also have mom try to get into a warm bath. So this isn't so much of the gate theory of different sensations. Maybe warm bath and cold washcloths on mom can be that, but just getting in the bath is actually something that can make pain management a little bit better too. And so it'll just kind of ease those feelings of the surges. It can help our body relax. So if we're able to maybe get in the water and then focus on that relaxation breath, that's something that can really help too. And then in terms of, again, just a little bit more comfort measures, counter pressure can be helpful. So those will look like maybe hip squeezes, like basically the top of your butt cheeks pretty much. So you can just use your hands to come back and forth, or like a towel or a sheet, we can kind of move across mom. So that is something that can help, as well as maybe some skin traction. So you can play around with this again when you are not in labor, so that way you can really practice. You can have your birth partner practice with you. That way they are ready to go during labor, and then you just have a handful of techniques that you can just pull from your back pocket to try. And again, I would recommend trying different things throughout labor and as labor progresses, because you never know how you're going to be feeling. And again, one thing could not feel so good in the beginning and then maybe end up feeling better, or opposite, something could be feeling really good and then things will change as labor progresses. So you always want to have just more options and things to try. And my fourth tip is to focus on grounding techniques and birth mantras. As far as grounding techniques, we can focus on visualization. So maybe during a contraction, you're focusing on just one thing that you are looking at, and that is your focus. So currently in front of me, for example, I have a window. So I guess that gives you a lot of things, but I can even focus on a window with blinds. So I can be looking at a specific spot in the blind, or it's really just anything, but not something that's moving. We just want to focus on one thing. And that doesn't necessarily have to be like an object, although it can be. We can focus on your birth partner. So maybe it's looking them in the eyes and breathing with them. It can be just like a strong feeling. So birth partner can kind of firmly grip onto a forearm, and we can focus on breathing, and again, eye contact, or just looking at one specific thing. And again, if we're focusing on the mental state of mom, we just want to get something that can ground her and make her kind of be in reality, but kind of stay again in her like birthing primal brain. That way she's in her zone and she's not going into that panic. So if we're just focusing on that good mental state, we want mom to kind of latch onto that, or latching on to birth mantras. So we can think of a good one that I've heard is, okay, so if a contraction is only lasting like a minute, usually it peaks for about 15 seconds. And if we're just thinking, I can do anything for 15 seconds, that's a good one. Or I've heard of moms really like this too, of knowing that they're not doing it alone, that hundreds of other women are giving birth and are laboring with them right now. So if we're just able to repeat that over and over again, whatever can kind of become your mantra, your thing that you focus on that gets you through labor. Those can be a super great tool, as well as like music or hypnobirthing. There's Christian hypnobirthing, there is non-religious hypnobirthing, but basically just listening to someone talk to you and help you through your breathing and that grounding mental state you're in. These are all great things, again, just to like latch on and focus, so we're not just focusing on pain and getting into a panic state. So my last and final tip is movement. So stay moving during labor by responding and moving in the way that your body is craving or intuitively wanting you to move. We're actually helping birth progress, and we're helping baby descend and get into the right position. And as baby's getting into the right position, baby is putting more pressure on the cervix, which is causing the cervix to dilate more, which then again is sending that oxytocin back to the brain. It just becomes this continuous pain oxytocin feedback loop that is continuing all the time. So the more that we do these things and we work together with our body and baby, the more that pain is going to be more manageable. In movement, there's a lot of different labor positions, which are good to know, but at the same time, it's not necessarily needed. Your body will know how to intuitively move, and I'd say that focusing on your intuition is always number one. So even if you knew no labor positions at all, and again, they are good to know in case things are stalling or you're just wanting to help labor kind of move along, but mom will usually know how to move in labor, and that might be kind of swaying, it could be more of squatting positions, hands and knees. You can even kind of like slow dance with your partner. You can be leaning back against your partner, maybe on a birth ball, so then again, you're kind of swaying, moving your hips. Just anything that feels comfortable to mom would definitely be the thing that I recommend to do. And again, just that movement, not lying still, are great ways to just, again, keep labor progressing while also making the contractions more manageable. So maybe stay in one position for 5 contractions or so, and again, intuition is key. So listen to what your body's telling you to do and definitely do that. But switching things around if it feels comfortable and you want to, around every 5 contractions or more, is never a bad idea, just again to keep things progressing and make pain feel more manageable. So again, just to recap, my top tips for managing pain during labor are to set your birth environment and to boost oxytocin, to reduce tension in your body through body scan meditation or breathing technique, to utilize comfort measures and to support the gate theory of pain, to have a birth mantra, and lastly, to intuitively move to help labor progress and to manage pain better. Mama, you are in control of your labor and your birth. Just keep these tools in your back pocket of things to try. Focus on your intuition and what your body is telling you to do. Again, practice that body scan and meditations before you're in labor. That way they become a little bit easier to utilize once you're in labor. And know that your body is meant to birth and you are fully capable of doing this. So thank you for watching, and I hope you feel a little bit more confident going into labor now that you know what to expect and that you have some tools to utilize. I will see you in the next one.